every type of business meets a need. Don't sit in your room and dream up the business idea, because it's not a room that is going to buy it. It's the people out there, the businesses and the human beings out there that are going to buy it. Be very, very clear who your demographic is. Go and find them and talk to them. Validate that. It might be that you have a good demographic you can sell to, but the problem you have is not the problem that they want solved. So you can tweak the problem. One of the things that I've learned is, if you have a good product, but you can't get it in front of the customer, you know what? Forget it. Hello and welcome to the Ethel Kofi Startup School. My name is Ethel Kofi. If you're a first-time person joining us today, well, you're welcome. If you've joined us previously in the other weeks, you're also welcome. So for those who are first-timers, let me tell you a little bit about what Ethel Kofi Startup School is not. Then I'll tell you a little bit about what it is. So the Ethel Kofi Startup School is not, let's say, a motivational program or a can-do attitude program on entrepreneurship, pushing everybody to become an entrepreneur. That's not what we're about. It's a practical show on the steps that you need to take as someone who's wanting to start a business or has already started a business. So come along with us today. As we do every week, we give away a book. So this week I am giving out a book on the art of seduction. So hold on a moment. I know, what does the art of seduction have to do with business? So this book actually is written by Robert Greene. So he's the same man that wrote the 24 Laws of Power. If you've read it, it's a really powerful book on sort of just managing people. The book is on persuasion, so it's the 24 laws of persuasion, which is really about in business, as in life, in order to get people to buy from you, for employees to come and work for you, for all things that you want to make happen, you have to be able to persuade people. So this is a really good book. I will ask a question at the end of the program. If you've gone with us through to the end of the program, I'll ask questions through the end of the program, and then you can win this book and pick it up at the Pulse offices. So the art of seduction, 24 laws of persuasion. I'm going to ask you to take a moment. If there's anybody that you believe or think could benefit a lot from listening to what I have to say on the Ethel Kofi Startup School about starting, running, scaling a business, take a moment, either comment and share, comment in the video, just comment in the Facebook Live, or share in your timeline so that they can join us and be part of it. So don't hog all this goodness for yourself. So last week, we talked about validating your business. Now, why do we need to validate our business? I'll tell you a little bit my story, if you haven't heard it already. I left a really nice job in the UK in a consulting role in the UK. I moved back to Ghana thinking I was going to start an IT consulting company, and I didn't validate all my ideas or the problem space. I didn't validate them at all. And guess what happened? I came to Ghana, started the business, and failed. Lost all my savings. So it's important that you validate your business so that at least you can test out your concepts without having to put so much money into it or wasting money. So it's a way for you not to throw away money, but to start in a small way to validate your business. So last week, what did we talk about? Last week, we talked about validating the problem. So every business solves a problem. Even if it's an app, a game app on your phone, it's solving the problem of boredom. Whatever it is, it's solving, you are creating value for somebody else by solving their problem. Even Facebook, right? It solves the problem of connecting people, staying in touch with people, showing off your lifestyle to people. It solves a problem. It solves a need, a human need. So we talked about the questions on validating that. We also talked about validating your target market or your customer. So that's very important, because you could have a problem you want to solve, but you could be reaching out to the wrong target market, right? So you could, for instance, be selling a high-end luxury car, but if your target market is people that have just left school, they don't have enough money. So there is no way you can reach that level. There's no way you can do well by so you've got to validate who actually has this need and who wants it, and who for whom. I don't know whether that's correct English, but who, when they see your product or they see your problem, they instantly get it and they instantly understand it. That's validating your customer. And then last week we also talked about validating your distribution, because I firmly believe that you can create the best product, but the distribution wins. Let's look, for example, at Bill Gates. So if you look at Microsoft and Microsoft Windows operating system, there are some systems, and I know I will be killed for this, but there's some, like for Linux, for instance, which is a better operating system. But because Microsoft has better distribution, it comes bundled in with your computer. Because it comes bundled in with your computer, you accept and you use it. So it's spread across the world and it's widely used because they've figured out the distribution. So there are many ways you can distribute your business. It's distributing over the internet. Can you bundle it with another product? Can you sell it directly? Can you sell it with an agent? There are different ways in which you can reach the customer. The question you have to ask is, the customers that I want to reach out to or I want to sell to, how do they want to be reached? So validating your distribution channel. So we'll come to this week. This week we are discussing 3 things. So validating your market. So validating your market size. So market size validation. Validation your solution or your product, depending on whether it's a service business or you're actually manufacturing something. And then validating your pricing, because it's really important that if you have a good product and you're selling it above what the target market is willing to pay for it, then, I mean, you're not going to make any sales. So let's start with market size validation. How big is your market? Now, if you are selling, say, an article that's $10, and only 10 people in the world want it, it means that, unless it's recurring, even that, it means that it's only, 100 people, $100 that you're going to make in sales. And I don't think $100 is going to do anything for you. It's going to pay your rent or take care of your business expenses. Therefore, some people, having only 10 customers is fine because of the pricing value, right? So Tony Robbins has a handful of professionals, the top businessmen, professionals, and celebrities he works with. But they pay him $1 million. If you don't know Tony Robbins is a business coach. He doesn't like to be called a motivational speaker, but he's a business coach and he coaches the world's best and brightest. And those 10 people are willing to pay him $1 million a year to talk to them 10 minutes on the phone every 10 days and to actually have a face-to-face, I think, every quarter. So for somebody like Tony Robbins, because of the pricing that's high, his market size is fine even if it's 10, 20, 30 people. Right. Now, if your product is different, then so there are different ways for you to go and validate your business. Like if you're selling to students, maybe you could talk to the educational service and ask about the number of students that are in school right now. If you're selling to businesses, let's say I specifically tend to sell to CEOs and to businesses that make a certain revenue level. So if I say my revenue level is, I'm selling to businesses that make revenue levels of $1 million and above, I've got to go to maybe the business commerce or the general, the registrar generals, or even to the tax office to give me a bit of an idea. Maybe there are 100 companies in Africa that make that much. And so I know this is my market size. So you've got to go out there and actually find out, depending on what your target market is, find out the number and then juxtapose it up against your target market. So this thing where a lot of entrepreneurs say, I sell to everybody. That's not true. You don't sell to everybody. You don't sell to everybody. There's a specific group of people that like your market, you like your product. So find them and find out the numbers. If your market is too small, you might not want to continue with that business. So then we talk about validating your product or validating your solution. So there are different problems. There are multiple problems. I'll give you the example of, I think last week I talked about it. So I talked about my company, one of my companies, which is Adele Technology Consulting. We're an IT consulting firm. We've done quite well with ourselves. We're an IT consulting firm of the year in Ghana, and we won awards, and we're doing well as a business. Now, one of our products, one of our software products, is a customer relationship management system, which is a software tool for sales managers to be able to track what their sales team is doing so that they can know immediately if they are hitting sales targets. So for instance, if your sales target as a sales manager is making $100,000 a week, and by Wednesday, your team has only talked to 5 people that it looks like might bring only $20,000, you can immediately tell there's something wrong, and you can change strategy, and you can push your team and immediately effect a change. And that's a problem that we felt we wanted to solve. It is the ability of sales managers to be able to clearly see what's happening with their sales team in terms of their sales pipeline, in terms of their sales input, to enable them to quickly make decisions so they can hit their revenue targets. Right. So we validated the problem. We talked to last week when we talked about it, we talked to sales managers. This was a clear need that they had. But here's the thing. There are so many ways somebody can solve that problem for themselves, right? So they could hire someone whose job every day is to go and bug the salespeople to be collecting data and making sure the sales managers can know. That's also an option, right? They could also use an Excel sheet and record everything and send it to the sales manager on a daily basis. That's also an option. That's a way to solve the problem of the customer. So you've got to be very clear, right? So there's the problem and there's a solution. So even though you're solving a problem, there are multiple ways for which the customer or your target market can solve the problem. So our solution was that we would build an online software system which would enable all the salespeople to be able to use a mobile app to immediately and quickly give reports back on, they went to a client, they talked to a client, they met a new client, all those things, so that the sales manager can sit in his office and quickly see what the sales numbers and sales figures are. That is a solution. And we needed to go and validate that solution. So there's a list of questions I have here, which is what I use with my team when we are validating a solution. So I'm going to go through them one by one with you. Some of them might not apply to you specifically or your product, but just listen through and pick the ones that are important to you. And I'm going to say this again. If you know somebody, just before I go through that list, if you know somebody that you think that they really need to hear this, and they are an entrepreneur, they're a struggling entrepreneur, and they really need direction, or they are thinking of entrepreneurship, or whatever, just either tag them in the comments or share on your timeline so they can be part of it. Right. So here are the questions that I'm going to go through. Now, first of all, remember the very first week, for those who listen, I said you become a power listener. So part of your job is to ask the questions and listen intently to what they say to you. So our first question is, how likely would you be, and best thing to do is to demo your solution, right? Demo it. So for us, if you could build a prototype, if it's a service, can you demonstrate it in some way? For us, because it's software, we built a prototype of the software, and then we took it to the clients, and then we showed them, okay, this is how, this is the dashboard. This is how you can see everything that's happening with your sales team. This is how you can see your sales numbers versus your key performance indicators versus your sales targets. These are the things when you open the dashboard, this is how your salesperson can add a new customer they've talked to. This is how you demo all that to them. And then when you finish, you ask, are you likely to tell a friend or family about this product? Now, people can lie to you. That is why you should try and be in front of them and see what their reaction is. Listen and ask them. Be very direct. Are you likely to share it with others? If people don't find something compelling, they're not likely to share it. So it's a good indicator. They say, oh, I'm not willing to share. The next question is, would you yourself ever use this product? Direct question, very direct question. You've demoed it, they've seen it. Would you use it? If you live in Ghana like I do, some Ghanaians are very diplomatic, and so sometimes you'll hear, "Oh, it's nice, it's interesting." You've got to keep asking till you really get what their intentions are. Ask directly, "Would you use this product?" And then, if they say yes, because human beings sometimes lie, your next question should be, "Would you be willing to start using it right away?" Right? So that they've said, oh yes, they've made a bit of a commitment. Okay, so I've shown them your prototype of this customer relationship management sales system. Can we install it for you right now? Can I install it for you right now? Would you start using it right now? And then you'll see if the person is not convinced about your solution, you'll hear an excuse. Oh, we have to set up, I have to. This is an indication, lets you know right there that you might have a problem with your product and how they feel your product. And the next question is, now you want to, if you're getting pushback, now you want to figure out why. So what might prevent you, what is preventing you from using the product now? And people will say, sometimes they'll say, we don't have the budget. Sometimes, oh, I'm busy. Sometimes perception. Keep asking questions until you get to the root cause of it, right? Sometimes you keep, oh, are you sure? And what if it was within your budget, right? Then they'll say, oh, I don't know, I have to get approval. Then you say, well, if it's within your budget and your boss approved, would you start using it right now? You've got to get to the point, and they'll say, I don't know, I'm not comfortable with how the dashboard is. I don't think I want to use it. You'll get to the reason why they don't want to use it. You have to keep asking. I'm a proponent of asking questions. Keep asking till you really get the understanding and the learning. Now, yeah, like I said, the potential hurdles may be budget, time, perception of product value, right? So you might have a valuable product, but if the person doesn't perceive it as a valuable product, that's also a thing for you. They can competing products. Somebody else has shown them something, and maybe that thing has a feature that yours doesn't have, right? Drill down and get the answer. The next question is, here's a very interesting one, which is, which I love asking, but a lot of people don't do it well. So would you pay $10 for this product, or would you pay $20 for this product? It's a very direct question. Now it disarms people. Now what you should do is, if you planned in your head, and it's I suppose I've started talking about the pricing model, but if you planned in your head that you're going to sell it for, let's say, like our CRM, like our customer relation managers, who sold $10,000 per year as license, and so I said, would you buy it for $15,000? Because if you start low and you go high, human beings are very odd. They'd rather, if you start from 10 and you go like, it's expensive, but if you start from 15 and come to 10, again, tricks of the trade, then people feel like they've gotten a bit of a bargain. So would you pay $15,000 for an annual license for the system? So, you might get a sales manager goes, I mean, if I don't hit my targets, I lose my bonus, which is 10% of my pay, which is maybe $25,000. So yes, it's worth it for me. Do you get it? So you've got to figure out, maybe if they say it's worth it, I believe on selling on value versus this thing. So if they get it immediately at 15,000, you're blessed. You're okay. You can go sell it at that price. If not, you keep, okay. Would you spend 14,000? Would you spend 10,000? Would you spend 5,000? So you get to a number that makes the person comfortable. Again, part of the business validation, you have to understand, part of validating your business is to learn and to figure out, about your target market, about your problem, and to figure out who are the people that immediately get your product, right? So if I tell the story back about the Dell Technology Consulting's customer relation management system, we started out by selling it to CEOs, and most CEOs thought, oh, it was interesting, but they didn't really feel it was a big need. When we started talking to sales managers for who, you know, their bread and butter, because a lot of sales managers, their remuneration, they've got a flat sort of fee, and then they get paid when they hit their sales targets, right? And for them, they immediately got it, because they're like, they know, they see that if something can help me meet my sales targets, so most sales managers will get like a small flat sort of monthly pay, and then everything they get is a percentage of the sales they make and their sales team makes. So immediately they see something that can help them sell better, they understand it and they get it. Versus maybe a CEO who is a bit like, I want to sell more, but they might not immediately see it as a need, right? And so we learned all that by asking questions, by going to the different target markets and asking questions. The last one is validate your pricing, and I've talked a little bit about it. I think I've touched on it a little bit. Right, so the question is, what are they willing to pay for it? On average, so you can ask a question like, and I'm reading the questions out to you now. On average, how much do you spend to solve the problem, right? So if the problem is, for us, it was sales managers hitting their sales targets so they can get their pay they can get the right remuneration, then, how much have you spent already to try and solve the problem? And also, I've hired this person, I paid this person, I don't know, $50,000 a year, right? So this is how much I paid them. This is their annual income to be the one who coordinates performance. Okay, so now you know what they are willing to pay for it, and then your issue now is able to convince them that you are the better option than them hiring a person. But at least you know that it's in your mind. And then there's a question that I think it's important to sort of think about. When you think of this problem, what brand comes to your mind? It helps know who are your biggest competitors in this field. So if you think about, hitting your sales target, the problem of hitting your sales target, what's the company, what's the brand that comes to mind? And somebody could immediately say, oh, sales trainer. There's a brand, there's a brand that trains salespeople. That's what immediately comes to mind. And so then you see sort of their thinking. Then the purpose here is for you to learn, right? Learn exactly what's going on so that you can, all the learning here will go into your marketing material, your presentations, all the things that you've learned here. You take it back, and we'll talk about it in weeks to come. You take that, and then when you're putting together, say, your sales presentation, or if it's on your website, you use the words that they use to describe their pain and their problem, and then you use those words back to them, right? So it's, for instance, if somebody came to you and said, and this is more psychological, if somebody came to you and said, I want you to build an amazing software system for me, right? And then I say, yes, we can build you a marvelous sales system. It's not the same thing in the person's mind. You're going to be very, very careful, right? If you have to mirror, you have to use the words that your potential clients use for you, because that's how they describe their problem. So they feel like you understand what their problem is. We'll talk about marketing and all that later. So I'm going back to the book. A very controversial book for today. Very controversial book, The Art of Seduction. So let's say maybe how to seduce your business people. Don't mind me. It's 24 Laws of Persuasion. It talks about how to be persuasive. So in all this, you have to sell. If you're not selling, it's a hobby. It's not a business. If you can't sell, then, I don't know. If your business can't sell, I don't know that we should call it a business. So 24 Laws of Persuasion. I will ask a question at the end of the day. And remember, you answer, the first person that answers it, the fastest fingers will win. And then I think we'll look at some questions from the crowd at the end of the day. The last thing I wanted to add to it, I think next week I'm going to do a bit more. I think there's one or two things more on validation, and we'll figure it out. I'll let you know. But the last thing I wanted to talk about, immediately you're done with this, I think the first things you should be thinking about is creating a customer acquisition plan, because that's one of the most important things. Look, there are people that have started businesses and they didn't even have a product, but they already had somebody. I'm always about, can you get your client or your customer to pre-finance? Can you get somebody to pay even before you build it? Can you get somebody to give you the money even before you sell it to them, right? So begin thinking about your customer acquisition plan. How do you get to your customers? How can you acquire customers? How do you get your customer number one? I will really look at it next week, but how do you get your first customer? Customer number one, how do you get them? I'll tell you how I got my first customer number one. I was still working for Vodafone Ghana as head of commercial solutions. And it wasn't even in tech. That's very interesting. It wasn't even tech. I had learned, the company had some online training that on strategy, I think how business course. I want to test out, all the things I've learned, I want to test it out. So I called a few friends that had businesses at the time. And I said, oh, I've gone through this Harvard course on business strategy, and I can really help you plan your business and put together business strategy. And no practical experience. And they're like, oh, and I was like, no, I can come and just demonstrate for you, but maybe your next sort of strategy meeting, just invite me. Even with the first ones, I was like, you just buy me lunch and I'll come and help you. I had no practical experience. I just learned it. So I read from my textbooks, and then I went and then I helped. It was, the business was it was a 10-man business, and I helped them put together their strategy. You know what he did? The owner of he went and told his friends, oh, Ethel is really good at putting together business strategy. And by the way, she helped us, and then I actually got people asking me to come and consult for them for business strategy. I know, it's a long time ago. It's a story from a long time ago. So how will you acquire your first customer? How will you acquire your first customer? How will you acquire your 10th customer? You've got to make a plan. And some people will say, I will do Facebook advertising. That's fine. Put it together. Begin to think, now that I have validated my product or my service or whatever in mind, how am I going to get my first customer? How am I going to get my customer? Business is about using your brain and trying as much as possible to, use your imagination, be innovative to get your clients. So something I want you to think about this week, as you watch and as you go, I will really think about how you can acquire customer number one. Right, whatever you and apply it. Sometimes we wait. Oh, I want to get the product. I want to have a manufacturing plant. I want to do this before I start the business. Look, if you can sell your product well with your mouth, you can get somebody to pay for it, and you can take that money and you can go develop the product. So this week has been fun. I know there was a video before that cut out, so it doesn't matter. This week has been fun. I hope you've learned quite a bit. So validate your market size, validate your product or your solution, and validate your pricing, and then think about your customer acquisition plan. Think about your customer acquisition plan. sell it to.